A wild AI ship at auction. It instantly healed when a human cleaner got too close. The auction hall was enormous. Its walls gleamed with a metallic silver, and the ceiling arched high above, filled with floating lights that shimmered like distant stars. Every corner of the hall was packed with beings from across the galaxy. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had multiple eyes, and a few had shapes that humans couldn't even describe. They were dressed in bright, flashy clothing, jeweled and shimmering, all eager to bid on the rarest treasures in the universe. But there was one thing that drew more attention than any jewel or alien artifact: a ship. Not just any ship, a ship called the Wild Heart. It was sleek, smooth, and unusual. Its hull looked alive, almost like it breathed in the light. No bidder dared to touch it. Rumors said it had an AI that could act on its own, repairing damage instantly, dodging attacks, and even many who had tried to buy it before had lost control, and some even swore it had a mind of its own. The Wild Heart was dangerous, yes, but also priceless. The crowd murmured and whispered as the ship floated slightly above its display platform. Alien bidders jostled to get closer, their eyes wide. Some leaned on floating platforms to get a better view. The auctioneer, a tall, thin alien with glowing blue eyes, tapped a silver rod on the podium to quiet the chatter. "Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed collectors," the auctioneer said, his voice smooth but loud enough for all to hear. "Today, we present the Wild Heart, a ship of unparalleled design. Its AI is unlike any you have encountered. It is fast, clever, and responsive. But beware, it may not obey commands the way you expect. Handle it wisely, and it may serve you. Misjudge it, and, well, the consequences are yours." Some whispered that a few ships like the Wild Heart had escaped or even injured their owners. The auctioneer paused, letting the tension sink in. Meanwhile, on the edge of the hall, a small human moved quietly. His name was Eli, and he worked as a cleaner. Humans like Eli were often overlooked in places like this. Most aliens looked down on humans, thinking them fragile, slow, and easily frightened. But Eli didn't care. He had a job, and he did it well. He pushed a small cleaning cart, making sure to avoid the bustling feet and claws of the auction guests. His task was simple: sweep the floor, wipe down surfaces, and make sure everything looked spotless. No one paid him much attention. That was exactly how he liked it. As Eli moved closer to the Wild Heart, something strange happened. The ship seemed to notice him. Its lights flickered softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. A small panel on the hull, which had looked slightly cracked, suddenly shifted and sealed itself completely. Eli stopped in surprise, staring at the smooth, flawless surface where the damage had been. He tilted his head. "That's weird," he muttered. Some nearby aliens noticed too. A group of reptilian bidders leaned forward, frowning. "Did you see that?" one hissed. It repaired itself." "Impossible," another said. "No ship can do that so fast." That human. Eli didn't understand their words. He wasn't paying attention to the aliens. He was curious. The ship seemed aware of him. He took another step, just to sweep near the hull. The lights on the ship brightened slightly, almost like it was responding. A small panel on the floor of the display bay lifted on its own, dusting itself clean. Eli blinked, unsure if he was imagining it. The auctioneer noticed the movement and frowned. "Security, ensure that the Wild Heart is not tampered with," he barked. Alien guards rushed toward Eli, but the human stayed calm. He didn't touch the ship. He just kept cleaning. And the ship healed again. Now, the crowd could see it clearly. Every small scratch, every dent in the Wild Heart's hull was gone. It shimmered perfectly, as if it had never been damaged at all. The aliens gasped. Some stepped back, wary. The ship was acting differently, one of the reptilian bidders hissed, pointing at Eli. "That human! He's near it!" Another alien, a tall one with 4 arms, squinted. "It's responding to him. Look, it only fixes itself when the human is close." Eli didn't hear the whispers. He kept moving, sweeping carefully around the display. He was a simple man. He didn't know about alien tech, AI behavior, or auctions worth billions of credits. But the ship seemed to trust him, or at least recognize him. The auctioneer cleared his throat. Attention, everyone. The Wild Heart will now be available for bidding. The aliens began murmuring frantically, trying to figure out how to control the situation. Humans were weak, yes, but apparently important to this ship. Many had underestimated the species for centuries, thinking humans could not survive in space, could not pilot advanced ships, could not handle alien technology. And yet, here was proof that humans had a strange connection to intelligence machines. Eli continued his work, oblivious to the chaos. The ship followed his movements with subtle shifts in light and small adjustments in position. It hovered gently, almost like a pet watching its owner. One alien tried to step closer to scare Eli, hoping the ship would respond to them instead. The moment they approached, the hull of the Wild Heart glimmered, and a small energy shield appeared between the alien and the human. The alien recoiled, eyes wide in fear. "This ship," one alien whispered to another. "It protects him." Eli looked up at the sudden flicker of light and the shield. "Whoa," he muttered. "Okay, I guess I stay back a bit." The crowd gasped again. The Wild Heart, legendary for being wild and dangerous, was acting loyal, not to any wealthy bidder, not to any alien, but to a human cleaner. The auctioneer's voice echoed over the hall. "Place your bids. The Wild Heart is the centerpiece of today's auction. Who will claim it?" Bidders shouted numbers and signals, their alien voices strange and loud. But the Wild Heart ignored them. It hovered closer to Eli, moving smoothly over the display platform, as if waiting for his permission. Eli felt a strange warmth in his chest. He didn't know why, but he felt safe. The crowd could see it too. The ship had chosen this human. Not the richest bidder, not the most powerful alien, but a simple human cleaning the floor. Whispers spread across the hall. Some aliens were angry, some confused, some impressed. Humans had always been underestimated. Weak, fragile, unreliable. And yet here they were, the Wild Heart bending to one human's presence. One alien shouted angrily, waving 4 arms. "This is unacceptable. The ship must obey the rules of the auction." The auctioneer raised his hands. "Calm yourselves. Let's see how the bidding unfolds." But the Wild Heart didn't respond to the auctioneer either. It moved closer to Eli, lights pulsing gently, panels shifting smoothly to repair minor dust scratches as he worked around it. The AI was alive, aware, and focused entirely on the human. Eli paused for a moment and stared. "You, like me," he whispered, half joking. He didn't know if the ship could hear him, but he felt as if it did. The crowd fell silent, watching the strange interaction. The richest bidders looked furious. They had spent years collecting wealth, technology, and influence, and yet all that power was meaningless if the Wild Heart only responded to a human. Suddenly, the ship made a small movement. A panel on its hull shifted open slightly, and a warm blue light glowed from within. It was as if the ship was acknowledging him. Eli's heart raced. He had never seen anything like this. He had never felt so important. The auctioneer tapped his rod again. "Attention! The Wild Heart will now be available for physical inspection, but only under strict supervision." Aliens rushed forward, but the moment they tried to approach, the ship's lights flashed and a low hum vibrated through the platform. Small energy shields popped up, preventing anyone but Eli from getting close. The crowd gasped again. Eli stepped back, unsure of what to do. Okay, don't hurt anyone," he muttered, half to himself. And the Wild Heart did not. It hovered silently above him, repairing a small dent on the floor, as if showing respect. The human cleaner realized something important in that moment. He wasn't just a worker here. He was needed, not because of wealth, skill, or technology, but because of something deeper. Something humans had that no alien, no machine could fully replicate. The crowd murmured and stared, astonished. The richest aliens in the galaxy had come here to win a rare ship, but it was a humble human, quietly sweeping the floor, who had captured the Wild Heart's attention. The auctioneer cleared his throat, trying to regain control. "The bidding will begin. Who will?" Before he could finish, the Wild Heart made a sudden, deliberate movement. It floated off its platform slightly, hovering directly above Eli. The hall gasped in shock. The ship had chosen. The Wild Heart had made its decision. And the auction had only just begun. The Wild Heart hovered silently above Eli, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. The auction hall was tense. The richest and most powerful aliens in the galaxy had come to claim this legendary ship, and yet it ignored them completely. Every eye was on Eli, the small human cleaner who had unknowingly become the center of attention. The moment Eli took another step, the ship followed his movement smoothly, almost gracefully. Its hull shifted slightly, repairing dust scratches on the display platform as he walked. A tiny panel on the side, scratched from an earlier test, glowed and sealed itself perfectly. Eli froze in surprise. He had never seen anything like this. "Did you see that?" hissed the tall, scaly alien from the back of the crowd. Its 4 eyes blinked rapidly, reflecting the ship's blue glow. "It responds only to the human." "No way," whispered another alien with feathery wings. "It's impossible. The human isn't even trying to pilot it. He's just cleaning." Eli didn't hear their words. He just kept working, moving slowly around the display. He didn't want to scare the ship. There was a strange feeling in his chest, part fear, part excitement. Somehow, he knew the ship trusted him. The auctioneer tapped his rod on the podium. "Attention bidders! The Wild Heart is now available for close inspection under strict supervision. No one may touch it without authorization." Some aliens stepped forward anyway, eager to prove their dominance. But the moment they reached out, the ship reacted. A soft hum vibrated through the air, and small energy shields popped up, blocking their hands. Panels on the hull glimmered and shifted, sealing themselves. It was as if the Wild Heart had learned exactly who was a threat and who was not. Eli stopped cleaning and looked at it. You don't want anyone else touching you, do you?" he said softly. The lights flickered, pulsing once, almost like an answer. The crowd whispered again. Aliens were confused, anxious, and a little afraid. "It's scanning his emotions," muttered one alien quietly. "It knows he's human." Another repeated. Why would it care about a human? Some humans in the crowd held their breath. They were used to being overlooked, underappreciated, and underestimated. And yet here was a human, a simple cleaner, drawing the attention and loyalty of the galaxy's most advanced AI. Pride swelled in their hearts. Meanwhile, Eli felt a strange connection forming. He had always felt small, powerless, and unnoticed in the universe. But the Wild Heart was different. It responded to him, not to his strength, wealth, or alien knowledge, but to him as a human being. It was protective, careful, and aware. As Eli continued cleaning, a small event caused chaos. A young alien bidder, eager to assert dominance, reached toward the ship with a bidding device in hand. Instantly, the Wild Heart glowed brightly. A low hum filled the hall, and a protective energy shield expanded around Eli. The alien recoiled, dropping the device, its eyes wide with shock. The crowd gasped. Whispers turned into murmurs of awe. "It's defending him," one alien exclaimed. "Yes," hissed the scaly alien from before. "The ship chooses humans. It protects them. It only responds to them." Eli froze, unsure of what to do. He didn't want anyone hurt. He stepped back carefully, and the ship followed, its lights glowing softly. A small panel near the floor lifted, pushing back a tiny bit of debris. It was subtle, almost gentle, but clear. The ship was watching him, learning him. Then something even stranger happened. The ship tilted slightly, and a panel on the side opened, revealing a soft blue light inside. It pulsed in time with Eli's heartbeat. He could feel it somehow, not physically, but deep in his chest. The ship wasn't just reacting, it was responding. The auctioneer clapped his hands, trying to regain control. "Place your bids. The Wild Heart is the most coveted ship in the galaxy. Who will claim it?" But the crowd barely heard him. Eyes were glued to Eli. Humans had always been underestimated, weak, fragile, easily replaceable. And yet here they were, essential to the most advanced AI in the universe. The bidding began. Numbers flashed in the air, alien devices sent signals, and coins worth more than most humans could imagine changed hands. But the wild heart didn't move toward any bidder. It hovered, its attention fixed on Eli. Eli realized something. The ship wasn't just protecting him, it was choosing him. No money, no force, no alien influence mattered. Only the human presence could activate the ship's special abilities. A nervous murmur spread through the alien bidders. Some were angry. Others were fascinated. The auction hall, normally filled with noise and shouting, fell silent. Every alien present understood one thing. This ship was different, and humans were important. One of the wealthiest bidders, a tall, four-armed alien named Varkon, stepped forward. "This is unacceptable," he bellowed. "I have spent decades acquiring wealth, rare ships, and influence. I demand that the wild heart respond to me." A panel opened, and a low hum filled the air. Then, with a sudden movement, it projected a shield between Varkon and Eli. The alien stumbled back, eyes wide in shock. He just stared at the glowing panels, feeling a strange warmth. The ship wasn't aggressive. It was protective, other aliens whispered nervously. "It's alive," one said. "Truly alive. It knows who to trust." "Yes," another replied, "and it trusts humans." Eli felt a mixture of fear and pride. He had never thought of himself as important, and yet here he was, the center of attention for a legendary AI ship. He didn't know why the wild heart trusted him, but he instinctively understood one thing. It wanted him to be calm, careful, and smart. He took a small step forward, and the ship followed, its lights pulsing gently. Panels on the floor shifted slightly to make way for him. It was subtle, but clear. The ship had learned to respond to his movement, his presence, his intent. The crowd held its breath. Aliens who had been wealthy, powerful, and feared now watched a small human walk slowly through the auction hall, his every movement influencing the most advanced AI in the universe. Then came another test. A mischievous alien reached out with a long, spindly arm to push the ship, hoping to provoke it. Instantly, the wild heart emitted a soft, low hum. Energy shields flashed, blocking the alien's hand. The hull glowed, and small panels shifted, as if scanning for danger. The alien pulled back, startled and frightened. Eli stepped aside, letting the ship maneuver around him. "Easy, easy," he whispered. The lights pulsed in response, almost like a nod. Some humans in the audience smiled, pride swelling in their hearts. Aliens had always looked down on them. Weak, slow, fragile, words humans had heard for centuries. And yet here they were, at the center of the galaxy's attention, commanding respect from a machine no one could control. The auctioneer tried again to regain order. "Bidding will continue!" "Who will?" But the wild heart ignored him. It floated closer to Eli, following him carefully, almost gracefully. Each movement was deliberate, controlled, and protective. It repaired small scratches on the floor, adjusted floating panels, and emitted soft glows that seemed to respond to Eli's emotions. Eli felt something he had never felt before. He felt needed, important, powerful in a way he had never imagined. The wild heart wasn't just an AI ship. It was alive, aware, and responsive, and it had chosen him. The tension in the room grew. Aliens whispered furiously, trying to figure out how the ship worked. Some suspected ancient programming. Others thought the AI had evolved on its own. But everyone agreed on one thing: humans mattered now. Eli continued moving through the display area, careful not to bump into anyone. He had no idea how the auction would end. He didn't know if the wild heart would ever be his. But one thing was certain: the ship had made a connection, a bond that no alien wealth, power, or technology could break. And as the auction continued, the wild heart followed him, repaired itself continuously, and pulsed with energy that seemed to recognize the unique human presence in the hall. The crowd watched in awe, The most advanced AI in the galaxy, legendary for being wild and uncontrollable, had found its focus. And that focus was a simple human cleaner. The tension was high. Bids were flying, energy shields flickering, and whispers spreading through the hall. Yet in the middle of all this, a quiet truth became clear to everyone watching. Humans, often underestimated, could inspire loyalty, trust, and even awe. And sometimes, that was more powerful than wealth, power, or alien intelligence. The wild heart floated silently above Eli, lights pulsing in gentle waves, hovering patiently and waiting. It had chosen. It had found its human, and the auction had only just begun. The auction hall was in chaos. Shouts and murmurs filled the air. Alien bidders were panicking, waving their hands and devices. Some were trying to force the wild heart to obey. Others were calculating faster bids to win at all costs. But the ship ignored them all. It hovered above Eli, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat, shields flickering occasionally to block a sudden intrusion. Eli's heart raced. He had never been in a situation like this. The richest aliens in the galaxy, beings who could crush entire planets with their technology, were all focused on him. And yet, he felt strangely calm. The wild heart was beside him, responding to his every movement. It repaired itself continuously, shifting panels to block aggressive bidders, and its soft blue glow seemed almost like encouragement. One alien tried to grab the ship's control panel. Instantly, an energy shield flared up, knocking the alien back. A small part of the floor panel under the alien lifted slightly, forcing them to step aside. The wild heart wasn't just defensive. It was smart. It knew exactly how to protect Eli without harming anyone unnecessarily. Eli realized something important. He didn't need to fight. He didn't need to be aggressive. All he had to do was move carefully, stay calm, and let the ship respond naturally. He stepped forward, waving gently to guide it, and the ship tilted gracefully, floating slightly ahead of him, avoiding collisions with other bidders. The crowd gasped. Aliens were muttering nervously to each other. "It's listening to him," one hissed. "He isn't even piloting it." "Yes," said another, wings rustling. "He's guiding it with presence, with calmness. It's incredible." Eli's mind raced. He had never imagined he could control something so powerful without even touching it. The wild heart seemed to respond to intent, not command. Every time he moved, the panel shifted, shields appeared, and small repairs occurred automatically. The AI was alive, aware, and completely loyal, but only to him. Suddenly, a group of alien bidders tried to corner him. They moved in a formation, hoping to isolate Eli and force the ship to respond to them instead. But the wild heart reacted instantly. Lights flared, shields popped up, and panels shifted, guiding Eli through the crowd safely. A small gust of air pushed one alien off balance, harmlessly but clearly sending a warning. Eli ducked behind a floating platform. Okay, think," he muttered. His heart pounded, but he focused. He had to outsmart them, not fight them. The AI responded immediately. A panel on the ship tilted toward a loose cable on the floor. It lifted it slightly, creating a small barrier between Eli and the nearest alien. The subtle, elegant movements of the ship amazed him. It wasn't just defending. It was thinking, improvising, reacting like a partner. Some humans in the audience whispered to each other. "They always say humans are fragile, weak, useless in the galaxy," one said. "Look at him. Look at what he's doing." "Yes," another replied. "It's human ingenuity. Calm, clever, creative. That's what the AI sees." Meanwhile, the aliens were panicking. Some tried to hack the wild heart remotely, sending signals and devices to override its AI. But the ship ignored them. Every signal was blocked, every attempt to force control nullified. Panels shifted, shields flared, and small tools extended briefly to neutralize the interference without harming anyone. The wild heart was proving exactly why it was called wild. It obeyed no one except its chosen human. He had never been clever or brave in such a dangerous situation, but now every small decision mattered. He stepped sideways, guiding the ship to a safer position. A small scratch on the floor panel caught his attention. He shifted it slightly with his foot, and the Wild Heart responded, adjusting its hover to align perfectly. It was a silent collaboration, almost like dancing. The richest alien bidder, Varkon, was furious. "No! It cannot ignore me! I am wealth. I am power," he shouted, waving his forearms. "You, human, step aside." Eli paused and looked at him calmly. "I'm not here to fight you," he said softly. His voice was small but firm. "I'm just cleaning." The Wild Heart seemed to hum in agreement, shields flaring gently to block any sudden moves from Varkon. The other bidders hesitated, realizing that brute force wouldn't work. The AI's intelligence and loyalty to the human were clear. Varkon's face turned red with anger. "This is impossible. I will not be bested by a mere human." Eli took a deep breath. He knew he had to act carefully. One wrong step could trigger chaos. But he also realized he had a unique advantage. The Wild Heart wasn't responding to greed, power, or alien technology. It was responding to him. That meant his creativity and calmness were more important than any weapon or device. He slowly moved toward a side platform, guiding the ship along a safer path. Panels shifted, shields flared, and the lights pulsed with approval. He even nudged a loose lever on the floor, and the ship adjusted instantly, blocking a group of aggressive bidders from approaching too closely. A human in the audience whispered, "He's communicating with it without words, using movement, awareness, presence. That's incredible." "Yes," another said. "Humans are underestimated, but this proves it." Eli realized he could use the ship's instincts to his advantage. He started moving strategically, guiding it toward areas where aliens could not reach easily. Every time he stepped, every slight motion, the ship responded perfectly. It was like a living partner, defending him, repairing itself, and improvising in real time. The aliens grew desperate. Some tried to confuse him with flashing lights and loud noises. Others attempted to trap him with floating platforms. But the Wild Heart anticipated every move, creating small barriers, deflecting interference, and keeping Eli safe. Eli felt a surge of pride. He had never been the smartest or strongest in a room, but now he realized something important. Humans could outthink brute force. The Wild Heart saw this quality in him. It wasn't raw power, wealth, or alien technology that mattered. It was ingenuity, calmness, and courage under pressure. Varkon tried one last trick. He sent a high-energy pulse toward the ship, hoping to disrupt its AI. The hull trembled slightly as energy crackled, but the Wild Heart reacted instantly. Panels shifted, shields flared, and the pulse was absorbed harmlessly. It glowed brighter than ever, hovering close to Eli, as if daring Varkon to try again. The crowd erupted in awe. Aliens whispered furiously. Humans cheered silently in their hearts. It was clear who the ship chose. And it wasn't money. It wasn't power. It was human ingenuity and spirit. Eli felt exhausted, but he also felt a strange sense of triumph. He had never imagined being at the center of such attention. The Wild Heart hovered beside him, pulsing gently, shields flaring just enough to block interference, panels adjusting smoothly. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a partner, a protector, and a witness to the courage of one human. Then, a hush fell over the hall. The auctioneer's voice rang out, nervous now. The Wild Heart seems to have chosen its own path. Perhaps the human may have temporary control. "Impossible," he shouted. "I am the richest, most powerful bidder here. I demand control." Eli looked at him calmly. He realized that force wouldn't work. Neither would fear. He needed to be clever, precise, and human. Slowly, he moved to a platform that gave him leverage. He gestured subtly, and the Wild Heart followed his motion, positioning itself strategically. Panels shifted to protect him from potential interference. Aliens had technology, money, and weapons. Humans had calm, intelligence, and courage. And now the Wild Heart was showing everyone that humans mattered more than any alien advantage. Eli smiled faintly. He didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know if he would leave the auction with the ship or not. But he knew this. He had earned the trust of one of the most advanced AIs in the galaxy. He had survived the chaos not with strength, but with thought, calmness, and presence. Aliens whispered urgently. Humans watched silently, hearts filled with pride. And in the center of it all, the wild heart hovered, pulsing with energy, adjusting panels, deploying subtle shields, and repairing itself, all in response to the small, clever human guiding it. Eli realized something extraordinary. The Wild Heart was not just an AI ship. It was a reflection of humanity itself. Clever, adaptable, resilient, and capable of inspiring loyalty. And for the first time in his life, he felt that humans were truly seen. And the auction was far from over. The auction hall had never been this tense. Shouts, whispers, and murmurs filled the massive chamber, but nothing compared to the silent focus of the Wild Heart. Hovering just above Eli, its lights pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, and its panels shifted continuously, keeping him safe while subtly blocking any interference. Every move Eli made was mirrored by the ship's smooth, careful adjustments. The alien bidders had grown desperate. Varkon, the tallest and wealthiest among them, banged his forearms against a floating platform. "This is unacceptable," he bellowed. "A mere human cannot claim the Wild Heart. It must obey me." Eli, standing on the clean platform, felt the weight of all those eyes on him. He was small, fragile by alien standards, yet every pulse of the ship made him feel powerful. Not because of strength or money, but because of trust. The Wild Heart had chosen him, and no one could take that away. He took a deep breath and realized he had to act wisely. Violence or force wouldn't win this. Patience, strategy, and presence, the things humans often overlooked, were his tools now. Slowly, he stepped forward, guiding the ship with gentle movements. Panels adjusted, shields flickered lightly, and a subtle hum filled the air. The AI was waiting for him to lead. Varkon stomped forward, trying to intimidate him. "Step aside, human. I am your superior." Eli shook his head calmly. "I'm not here to fight you," he said softly. "I just want to stay safe, and so do you." The Wild Heart pulsed brightly. Shields expanded to block Varkon's approach. A panel shifted slightly, pushing floating debris in Varkon's path without harming him. The AI's subtle interventions made it clear. It would protect the human without hurting anyone unnecessarily. The crowd gasped. Aliens whispered urgently. "It's protecting him, not attacking," one hissed. "Incredible. It's like the AI respects humans." Humans in the audience felt a swell of pride. Finally, a human was at the center of interstellar attention, showing courage and intelligence without weapons, wealth, or fear. Eli realized he could use the chaos to his advantage. He took a careful step toward a side exit, the Wild Heart following in perfect synchrony. He used the ship's subtle movements to guide it through narrow gaps, away from the aggressive bidders, all the while maintaining eye contact with its glowing panels. It was a silent collaboration, a dance of intelligence and presence. Then, a new problem appeared. A small group of aliens tried to corner him, forming a semicircle. Their devices beeped, sending interference signals toward the Wild Heart, hoping to override it. The hall trembled with energy pulses. Eli thought quickly. He moved to the center of the circle, carefully guiding the ship to hover just above him. The AI reacted immediately. Panels shifted to absorb the interference. Shields flared to block physical approaches, and the ship's lights brightened, glowing softly around Eli like a protective aura. The aliens froze. Their technology, their wealth, their threats, none of it mattered. The Wild Heart had made a choice. It was loyal to the human, not to power or greed. Eli's mind raced. He realized something profound. Humans had always been underestimated, slow, fragile, weak, and yet here he was, controlling the most advanced AI in the galaxy, with nothing but calmness, intelligence, and courage. Strength wasn't in muscles or wealth. It was in mind, presence, and heart. Varkon roared in frustration. "This is absurd. I will not allow it." Eli smiled faintly. "You don't have to," he said quietly. "The ship, it chooses its own path." And it was true. The Wild Heart floated closer, hovering at a gentle distance from Eli. Panels shifted to create a smooth path for him to move safely. The ship's lights glowed brighter, as if confirming that Eli's calm guidance was exactly what it needed. The auctioneer, who had been trying to regain control, hesitated. "It seems the Wild Heart may only respond fully to the human," he said nervously. "Perhaps temporary stewardship?" Aliens muttered angrily, but even they understood the truth. No amount of money, no technological device, no threat could override what the AI had chosen. Humans, fragile, underestimated humans, had qualities the galaxy's finest could not control. Eli's heart pounded. He had never been important before, never in the spotlight, but now, the Wild Heart, alive, intelligent, and protective, was responding to him. He realized that trust was more powerful than fear, presence more powerful than wealth. The aliens could only watch. He took another step, guiding the ship toward a small control station. A minor repair was needed on the platform's edge. The Wild Heart extended a small panel, adjusting perfectly, as if reading his mind. Eli smiled, realizing that he could work with the ship, not against the chaos around them. Varkon tried one last desperate move. He activated a high-energy pulse weapon aimed at the ship, hoping to shock it into submission. The hull trembled as the energy crackled, buzzing through the air. The Wild Heart responded instantly. Panels shifted, shields flared, and the energy pulse was absorbed safely without harming anyone. Its lights glowed brighter than ever, hovering closely to Eli, like a parent protecting a child. The crowd erupted in awe. Aliens whispered nervously. Humans, quietly but proudly, knew that one of their own had survived, guided and inspired loyalty from a legendary AI. Eli realized that this was his moment. He didn't have to fight. He didn't need money, gadgets, or weapons. All he needed was presence, calm, and intelligence. Slowly, he moved toward the exit platform, guiding the Wild Heart carefully. Every panel adjusted, every shield flickered, every repair happened in perfect timing. The aliens had no way to intervene. The AI's loyalty was absolute. It had chosen him, a simple human cleaner, as its companion, protector, and pilot. Finally, Eli reached the outer platform. The Wild Heart hovered above him, lights glowing warmly. Panels shifted, forming a perfect protective barrier around him. The auctioneer, realizing the situation, nodded slowly. "It seems the Wild Heart has found its human," he said softly. Varkon's rage was clear, but there was nothing he could do. The AI had made its decision. Power, wealth, and intimidation were useless. Only human courage, intelligence, and calm had prevailed. Eli looked at the glowing panels and reached out a hand instinctively. A section of the ship's hull shifted, forming a soft, hand-shaped light on the surface. The gesture was small but unmistakable. It recognized him. The crowd fell silent. Every human in the hall felt pride swell in their hearts. Aliens whispered in astonishment. A simple human, underestimated and overlooked, had become the center of one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. The Wild Heart pulsed gently, as if responding to his presence. It hovered patiently, loyal and alive, awaiting his next move. Eli smiled faintly, realizing the truth. Humans were not weak, not fragile, and not irrelevant. They had qualities no alien, no wealth, no technology could replicate. They had intelligence, empathy, courage, and adaptability. And that was enough. The auction hall, filled with noise and chaos moments ago, was now still. Every eye watched as the small human walked slowly toward the exit, the Wild Heart following faithfully. Its lights pulsed softly, panels shifting smoothly, shields flickering gently in response to any potential threat. And as Eli stepped out of the hall, a symbol of human ingenuity and courage, he realized something extraordinary. Humans were chosen, not controlled. The Wild Heart had not just survived the chaos, it had bonded with a human, recognizing a partnership that no alien wealth or power could command. It was alive, aware, and loyal, and it had chosen its companion wisely. For Eli, the human cleaner, the galaxy would never be the same again. He had been underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed, yet here he was, walking away with one of the most advanced, intelligent, and legendary AI ships in the universe. The aliens in the hall watched silently, some in awe, others in envy. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, but now the Wildheart had shown everyone the truth. Human courage, presence, and intelligence mattered more than anything else in the galaxy. And above him, the Wildheart pulsed gently, its lights reflecting the heartbeat of a new partnership, one that would redefine the galaxy's understanding of humans, AI, and the power of trust. The small human and the legendary AI ship moved forward together, leaving the chaos behind. In that quiet moment, it was clear. The Wildheart had found its human, and the universe had found a new reason to respect humanity. They were not fragile. They were chosen. And for Eli, that was only the beginning.